Okay, so good evening, everyone. Families, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm going to go over some just quick logistics for families. This evening, we have our school community coordinators with us, Miss Nellie Chong, who will be translating to Spanish, Miss Lilia Lung, who will be translating to Cantonese, Miss Lin Lu, who will be translating to Vietnamese, and Miss Julie Ma, who will be translating to Mandarin. Please select one of those languages if you need translation at the bottom of your screen. Also with us this evening is Assistant Superintendent Ms. Pat Mahoney, who is Assistant Superintendent of Student Support Services. Director of Student Support Services, Mr. Lindsay Ma. Ms. Krista Van Orden, Director of Pre-K through 12 Instruction, and other members of Executive Cabinet. And then myself, Marisa Palacios, I'm the Director of Alternative Education Programs. So again, thank you for being here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Send me the invite again. For some reason, it's not letting me. Okay. Give me just a quick second and take care of something. Go. Let me go ahead and present my screen. So tonight we'll be reviewing our default 100% in-person learning program, health order information from DPH, and our 100% virtual learning option and next steps. So we'll have an opportunity at the end of this presentation for Q&A, and so that you have all the information that you need to make the decision for your child during the 21-22 school year. So 100% in-person learning. So for the 21-22 school year, Alhambra Unified will return to 100% in-person learning. We have developed a comprehensive instructional program with expanded learning opportunities and social emotional learning built into the school day, and a staff committed to meeting the needs of all students. This is our recommended program for all students because we have tier 1, 2, and 3 intervention, as well as opportunities for acceleration for honors and advanced placement, and opportunities for students to participate in athletics and extracurriculars. For in-person instruction, learning, the school day and instructional minutes will go back to pre-pandemic requirements, as well as in-person block schedule will be piloted in grades 6 through 12 with a short Wednesday. Expanded learning opportunities will be built into the school day, and additional extended learning opportunities will be available outside of that school day. Now I'll turn it over to the Assistant Superintendent, Ms. Pat Mahoney, who provide us with a California DPH update for in-person learning.
Thank you, Dr. Palacios. What I'm going to share with you this evening is only an order from the California Department of Public Health. We do not have a local updated LA County Department of Public Health order. And I say this to you because we will be receiving one in the near future. So what I'm sharing with you is just some global recommendations from California Department of Public Health. Our local health department will look at their recommendations and they can issue an order that is very similar to what California is recommending, or they can create an order that is more restrictive. So I'm going to share with you what we know today from California. They're recommending, and I think you've heard this in the media, that universal mask wearing while indoors in all TK to 12 schools and buildings. Masks are optional for outdoors in all of our school settings. And the reason for this is that universal masking possibly could permit some modified quarantine practices under certain conditions in our school settings, which will allow for more instructional time for students. Next slide. Some additional health orders. They are recommending from California DPH that certain individuals be exempt from wearing a mask at all times. These people include persons with a medical condition, mental health condition, or disability that prevents wearing a mask. This includes persons with a medical condition for which wearing a mask could obstruct their breathing, or otherwise they are unable to remove a mask without assistance. Additionally, people who are hearing impaired or communicating with a person who is hearing impaired, where the ability to see the mouth is essential for communication. And then where a face covering cannot be used for a disabling or developmental reason, such as communicating or assisting young children or those with special needs, a face shield with a drape can be used instead of a face covering. In the upper right-hand corner, this is a face shield with a drape. It's a shield. It's a special shield with snaps built into the bottom of the shield. A specially designed cloth snaps into place, and then you tuck that into the top of your shirt. Next slide, please. Additional recommendations include optimizing ventilation for indoor spaces. A strong recommendation for all of us is to stay home when we are ill or symptomatic, and strongly recommend that if you do have symptoms of a cold or a flu, that you get a COVID test. It is best practice for school districts to be transparent and to offer the school community the opportunity to review our school safety plans. I think most of you that were with us last year are aware that we did post a safety plan on our district website, and we are in the process of updating that for the 21-22 school year. We are just waiting for the LA County Department of Public Health orders to make sure that we have all the recommendations on that safety plan. And that will be posted on our website and disseminated and connected with our school sites. Next slide, please. Consistent with guidance from the 2020-21 school year, school districts are mandated to develop and implement local protocols to enforce the wearing of masks on campuses. Additionally, schools should offer alternative educational opportunities for students who are excluded from campus because they will not wear a face covering. And we are waiting for LA County to issue an updated health order sometime in the very near future. And then California Department of Public Health has indicated that they're going to continue to assess the conditions on an ongoing basis and will determine no later than November 1st of 2021 whether they need to update the mask requirement or make additional recommendations. And now I'm going to turn it over to Director Lindsay K. Ma.
Thank you, Pat, and welcome parents. For the Alhambra Unified School District, we continue to put safety measures in place, but we are awaiting, as Ms. Mahoney has said, the new health order in reopening our schools. As we move forward, we do, although we don't have the digital symptom survey anymore, we did put into place the self-screening questionnaire that needs to be completed by you for your children before they come to school each day. And basically, you're going to ask yourselves, have you had any of these symptoms within the past 24 hours? Fever or chills, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle or body aches, headache, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting or diarrhea. Next slide, please. It is important that we comply with the mask wearing mandates as placed forth. We will have these posters and messaging the importance of wearing masks, especially while indoors and in our classrooms. While your students are inside, they need to be in masks. While they are outside at recess or outside on the playground, they do not need to be in masks. Next slide, please. So the mask really works to protect you and others. It protects others by lowering the number of particles or droplets that you release into the air with you when you breathe and talk. And it also protects you from taking in droplets and particles through your nose and mouth from others who are around you. Next slide. Wearing a mask at school is important, and we want all of our students to wear their masks while indoors in the classroom properly. And so what that means is the mask must completely cover the nose and the mouth, and it has to fit snugly around the face so that there are no gaps between the mask and the face. Next slide. What kind of masks do our students wear? As you are trying on masks, as you are purchasing masks for your students, make sure that it fits snugly against your child's nose and chin with no large gaps around the sides of the face. It has 2 or more layers that are tightly woven together and that they are comfortable wearing the masks for periods of time. So now I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Palacios for continuing of this presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Dermott and Ms. Mahoney. And so what is Alhambra Unified's option for 100% virtual learning? As many of you may know, Governor Newsom signed Assembly Bill 130 into law on July 9th. And so this required local education agencies to provide an option for virtual learning for students. And so here we have our AUSD Eagle Soar virtual learning program. And so much like Newsom, and Alhambra Unified School District recognizes that some of our families may need an alternative education option to address medical conditions. We will offer an independent study 100% virtual option to families whose students' health would be put at risk by in-person instruction as determined by the parent or guardian. And so with this are some requirements by grade span. So for the 100% virtual learning program requirements, kindergarten to grade 3, we are required to provide daily synchronous instruction for all students throughout the school year. For grades 4 through 8, both daily live interaction and at least weekly synchronous instruction for all students throughout the school year. And then grades 9 through 12, at least weekly synchronous instruction for all students throughout the school year. The law went ahead and defined live interaction as any kind of interaction between a student and certificated or a student and classified member, as well as may include peers for the purpose of checking in, progress monitoring, and remaining connected to the school. The law also defines synchronous instruction, meaning any kind of classroom style instruction, either whole class, small group, or one-on-one, delivered in the form of in-person or in the form of internet or telephonic communications. So AUSD's K through 12 100% learning program. These are really kind of the differences that you should see from last year to this year's option for the 100% virtual program. So for K through 8, students will enroll at the Eagle Soar Virtual Learning Program and attend Eagle Soar Virtual Learning Program events. We will be providing daily live instruction, synchronous and asynchronous learning, highly qualified teachers and support staff, a self-contained classroom, so all subjects taught by one multiple subject teacher or co-taught by 2, a minimum of 4 hours daily synchronous instruction in the morning and 4 hours of asynchronous instruction in the afternoon. And so for K through 5, we have standards-based grading. And for 6 through 8, we have traditional letter grading. Attendance and grading is based on participation and work completed. All 100% virtual learning requests will be invited to a parent, guardian, student, counselor, teacher meeting in the first week of August. Chromebooks and hotspots are available for student use at home, and textbooks are available for student checkout. Parents may request, we may request in-person instruction. We strongly recommend that if you'd like to transfer back to 100% in-person instruction, you do so at the trimester and semester, and that is just best practice. I'm also going to go ahead and review 9 through 12 just in case you have other students that are enrolled in higher grade levels. So students in grades 9 through 12 for the virtual learning program will be enrolled in Eagle Soar Virtual Learning Program, attend all Eagle Soar Virtual Learning Program events, have weekly live minimum of 2 hours and a SELLIS computer-based instruction. They'll have synchronous and asynchronous instruction, as well as highly qualified teachers and support staff. Students are assigned to a master teacher who will provide a minimum of 1 hour instruction in their credential subject area and 1 hour of weekly check-in progress monitoring. Students could potentially meet with additional teachers weekly or in combination with the SELLIS computer-based instruction for 6 hours. We have flexible scheduling, does not follow a traditional bell schedule. We have traditional letter grading. Attendance and grading is based on participation and work completed. Although you should know we do have limited course offerings. There are no honors or advanced placement courses available, and we have limited electives. Chromebooks and hotspots are available for student use at home. And then again, textbooks are available for student checkout. Parents may request to return to in-person instruction, but again, we strongly recommend that it's at the trimester or semester. Here is a sample of our K-8 sample student schedule, where you'll note mornings in-person Zoom, afternoons flexible online learning. We'll have regular communication with parents. There'll be a combination of whole group instruction and small group instruction. We'll have bi-monthly parent, teacher, and student meetings, daily extended learning opportunities, social emotional learning, and a designated counselor assigned to your students. So as you can see, from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. is that live synchronous instruction organized by subject area, followed by an hour lunch break. And then 1 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon session is the asynchronous or independent work. And whether that may be one-to-one student meetings, small group or designated ELD, opportunities for art and music, and then opportunities for independent work time and or tutoring. This is a sample of a 9 through 12 sample student schedule. With it, we offer flexible scheduling, social emotional learning, office hours and tutoring available daily, daily extended learning opportunities, bi-monthly parents, teachers, student meetings, one-on-one support with a supervisory teacher and weekly check-ins, small group instruction, regular communication with parents, and that designated counselor. So please note, grades 9 through 12 do not follow a traditional bell schedule. Students are assigned to a master teacher who will meet with them weekly to provide 1 hour of weekly instruction and 1 hour of weekly check-in. Students will be assigned additional coursework by a one-to-one teacher or computer-based instruction to be completed independently. So opportunities for Q&A. Some of the questions, or many of the questions that were asked at that pre-questionnaire were, can I transfer back to my home school? Parents have the option to transfer back to in-person learning within 5 instructional days, although we will strongly recommend that best practice indicates that students should only transfer back at trimester or semester. Another frequently asked question was, is 100% virtual learning like last year? At the elementary level, your child will be enrolled with grade level peers from across our district. Your child will be assigned to a self-contained teacher for daily instruction. Instruction at the elementary level will be very similar to last year, except for the fact that the teachers voluntarily put in a transfer to be selected to be a virtual learning teacher, and their peers are going to be across our district and not just maybe students from their home school. At the high school level, your child will be enrolled one-on-one and or a small group instruction with grade level peers from across our district, and then your child will be assigned to a master teacher for weekly instruction. Another frequently asked question was, may my child attend events at their home site? So enrollment at our 100% virtual learning option indicates that your child's health would be put at risk if they attended in-person learning. Students are welcome to attend events associated with our Eagle Soar virtual learning program, and that students may attend events at their home site when they return to 100% in-person learning. So I do want to give an opportunity to have parents ask questions right now that we can respond to, but let me just share this information so you have it, or in case you want to write it down. We are having another parent informational session on Thursday. And it's the Zoom link that was shared on our flyer. You still have an opportunity to sign up for the 100% virtual learning using this link on this form. It's due by this Friday at 4 p.m. And then if you change your mind and would like to withdraw your 100% virtual learning program interest form, you can email me, and then included in your email, you should include this information. So I'm gonna leave this up while we do the Q&A. That way you have an opportunity to ask any questions in addition to what we presented. So Mr. Schofield, if you could help me facilitate through the Q&A.
I will be happy to do that for you.
Thank you.
And we'll start with the Q&A, and then there's some questions that are in the chat room as well. So first question comes from Joyce. Will 8th graders who decide to go 100% online be able to have an in-person graduation along with the rest of their grade level at the close of the school year?
So for students that are opting, I'm going to go ahead and take this question. Students that are opting to stay or remain in the 100% virtual learning option will definitely have an opportunity to have a graduation ceremony for those 8th graders. However, if they opt to return to their home site, they would then be able to participate with their grade level peers at the home school.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The parent just put down the wrong grade level on the survey. Is there any way to fix it? Is there someone they could call in to make that change?
Absolutely. You can always email me any kind of corrections, but because I have your student's ID number, I already have the corrected grade level. So you're okay.
Okay. Very good. And Fang says, I registered 100% virtual plan online before. What do I need to do to change it to be in person?
Right here, you can just go ahead and email me this information and I'll remove your name from my list.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then not sure if you want to, well, okay, let's see. Not sure if you want to, oh, your email, there it is. Okay, I see it. Sorry, I didn't see it.
Yeah, no worries.
I was wondering if there will be teacher teaching for 100% virtual learning, or is it completely independent work?
Did they specify what grade level?
No, they did not. So
okay.
There's different levels, different answers definitely. For different grade levels.
Yeah, so for K through 8, you're going to have that 8 to 12 live instruction daily. And then you'll have that asynchronous work, whether it be small group, one-on-one, or completely independent. That would be in the afternoon for K through 8. And then for the high school, typically students are assigned a master teacher for primary instruction, and then assigned potentially to another teacher for instruction, and then computer-based instruction on Acellus. Again, that's grades 9 through 12.
Okay. And will there be weekly testing for teachers, staff, knowing some people having COVID can be asymptomatic?
So there'll be testing similar to what is done for in-person learning, but it will be done virtually. I hope that's what the parent was asking.
No, I think they're asking if teachers in general, if teachers or school employees are going to have to do weekly testing.
Oh, okay, got it.
Some could be at school and be asymptomatic, but
I think they're asking if we're going to roll out a systematic
COVID
coordinated testing. And I think the answer that we will give you today is there are no plans to do that. Again, we are waiting for updated health order, but that is our answer today.
And then Pat, this one may be good with you as well. Hello, it says, does the mask requirement also apply with children with autism who do not tolerate having a mask on at all?
California Department of Public Health is recommending that if there is a child with a disabling condition that prevents him or her from wearing a mask, that they would be exempt with some sort of evidence that there is a true disability. But again, that is a California Department of Public Health recommendation. We have not seen that in writing from our local LA County Department of Public Health.
Okay, and then is TK excluded from virtual learning?
So you could sign up your child for TK. That is one of the options for you to select.
Okay, and for the next one, I don't believe there is 100% virtual learning for any of our dual immersion programs.
No, there is not.
Okay, and we just answered the TK question. So when our children are outside playing, screaming, laughing, and having fun in each other's face, which is something that kids often do, and so how is that considered safe without masks? And again, to reiterate what Pat said, we're following the orders and the recommendations, I should say, from the Department of Public Health.
Right. So we're going to follow what LA County DPH asks us to follow right now. Masks are not required outside, but they are required inside.
Yeah, and so does the independent study option mean the teacher will or will not be from the student's assigned school?
So teachers actually applied to be part of the virtual learning program. And so no, they're not necessarily from their assigned school.
Okay. And then our 8th grade promotion question was answered. So we've got that one. And then, the next one states, so please address virtual learning for special education with IEP.
Yeah, definitely. And so for students that have an IEP or a 504 plan, the team would actually have to convene to decide appropriate placement prior to your enrollment in the virtual learning program. So I would say within that first week of school, you can request a IEP meeting to review current placement and your request for virtual learning, and the team will determine whether or not that is appropriate.
Yeah, and then how will they decide if our students can do 100% virtual learning?
So you were opting into this program by completing that interest form.
Okay. And then, but then there's got to be there's that meeting, right? So if there's any specialized programs, the students need that also has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, that is correct, Mr. Schofield.
Yeah.
And so especially for students with IEPs and 504s,
yeah,
that enrollment can't actually take place until that team meeting happens. Yeah. And so all students will be given the opportunity for an intake meeting scheduled at that first week of August. And then we can go over specifics there.
And so if a student cannot attend virtual learning in the morning, is there a video that records synchronous learning for that student?
So that would be dependent on the teacher. However, what I do know is that instruction will be available for students that miss on Seesaw and Google Classroom.
And then is the plan to combine a grade level or have just a few teachers for each grade level within the entire district?
So no, our classes will be taught by teachers for specific grade levels. So your student could be enrolled in a 6th grade class and you'll have peers from all across our district in that one class.
Yeah, and then when do we think we know who the teachers will be for virtual?
So we should know by next week. I'm interviewing teachers Thursday and Friday.
Okay, and this one says, my children are currently attending the school on a permit. If we decide to return to in-class learning, will my child be able to return to the same school? So if a child goes into, if a child is in virtual learning and then they decides to come out and go back to in-person learning, they'll be able to return to that same school they were at unless the grade level fills up, and then overflow protocols would follow.
Correct, but ideally we would like all kids to return to their home schools. Yes.
Yeah, it's the optimal, it's the ideal, but there's that asterisk there that could be that last seat gets taken while students away. Will there be an after-school program running in person? Also, if we do virtual learning, will we lose our spot in ACEs once we return to school 100% in person with no option the following years to come? So I think it's a two-part question. So are we having, our ACEs and Spark and those various programs running in person after school? And
the answer to that is yes.
And then if one opts into virtual, does that mean the spot is lost for ACEs once the return to in-person learning takes place?
Krista, do you want to answer that? Because yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes. So currently we do have a wait list for all of our ACEs programs. And so if your child is going to participate in virtual learning and you decide at some point in the year to return to in-person instruction, you would have to check with the ACES coordinator to see if space is available in the program.
Okay, and it looks like we have a question here on synchronous versus synchronous and asynchronous. But I would ask for some Spanish translation assistance on that one.
So synchronous instruction, and I know Nellie will be translating for me, means classroom style instruction or designated small group or one-on-one instruction delivered in person or in the form of internet or telephonic communications involving live two-way communication between the teacher and student. So synchronous is like classroom style instruction, and asynchronous is like similar to independent learning, where students are either working independently or they're working in a small group, or potentially one-on-one with the teacher.
Okay, and thank you. And then Krista, this one's for you. If our child's currently enrolled in dual immersion program for kindergarten and we opt to virtual learning, will she be able to join DI program when she returns to in-person learning?
So if you enrolled in virtual learning and decided to return to in-person, it would be based on space availability. We do have wait lists for both programs. And we would put you on that wait list and let you know when space became available. But the virtual learning program does not support dual immersion. So you would essentially lose your seat in dual immersion and be able to rejoin if space is available.
Okay, so then Krista, from that, am I understanding that if the class is at 24 and 4 students opt to virtual learning, it would open up 4 seats, and then the next 4 people on the waiting list would be invited into the DI program?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. Is virtual learning open to all students or just with health issues or students with an IEP? Thank you. Oh,
I'm on mute, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Virtual learning is open to all of our students who have a medical condition that would be at risk if they attended in person. It is also open to students with an IEP, assuming that the IEP placement meeting determines that that is the best placement for that student. And so it's really dependent on that team decision at the IEP meeting.
Okay. And then parents are wanting to know, I saw some questions in the chat room. They're similar. What's in-person learning going to look like? How many students will be in a classroom for grades 6 through 8, and it really could apply to any grade? And then will they be 3 feet apart?
So I can answer that based on today's health order, is that there is no requirement for making sure that there are 3 feet between students in a classroom. The order indicates to put as much distance that is feasible within that classroom setting.
Okay. And the question is, if we select in-person learning, but COVID numbers increase significantly in LA County, would district schools possibly go back to online learning?
So those decisions are made by, I don't know if Ms. Jaramillo wants to answer that or if she wants me to answer that, but those are not simple decisions. They are based on a Board of Education decisions, and they take in a lot of things into place, and we would work very closely with Department of Public Health as well to make those decisions.
Okay. Next question is a repeat we answered earlier. So our goal is to see kids return to their home schools, and that, from VLA, but there's always a possibility that a grade level could fill with that. So it's no 100% guarantee. And so for high school level, a high school question, will the range of classes be available comparable to in-person, such as AP classes, Dr. Palacios?
Yes, so all of the classes that we'll be offering at the high school level are A through G eligible, so they can get you into college. However, we are not able to offer our honors and AP classes, and it is because we cannot guarantee you a spot should you return to in-person learning. Many of you know those classes fill up rather quickly. Even open spots can be taken in a matter of hours as soon as they become available. And so because we can't guarantee that spot if you should return to in-person learning, we don't have that available. There's also limited electives available for the virtual learning for high school.
Yeah. And then Pat, did you want to jump in?
Yes, I'm seeing a lot of similar questions, and I thought I would answer because I'm answering them independently, but they keep coming up from different people. So there's a lot of questions about how many of your staff are vaccinated. Are you going to tell us how many of your staff are vaccinated? Those are very personal questions that are very confidential. And so at this time, we do not have that information to share with parents or staff. So I just want to make sure, because the questions keep getting asked over and over again. There's also a lot of questions about how many kids are in a classroom, how many kids are going to be in the 6th grade, 7th grade, 12th grade. We don't have the answers to those. Most likely it's going to depend on the class, the school, and a lot of other factors. So we don't have a lot of the details that to a lot of these questions as of today. Lindsay, are you seeing any other themes out there that keep coming up?
I think dress code, or the dress code uniforms question, I see quite a bit.
There is also, for the school uniform, the district does have a school uniform policy for students in kindergarten through 8th. There is also in that policy a waiver that can be requested. And so do want parents to be informed of that. General trends is the virtual learning only for those students who are maybe health impaired or something like that? No, not necessarily. That the virtual learning is a decision that parents need to make. We are having in person, and those are we are following the state mandates for that. Can they switch? Dr. Palacio reviewed that in her presentation, and yes, they can. They have to inform the administrator. But distance learning is not for the student who develops, let's say, a cough or has some allergies for a couple of days. That would just be considered an illness from school, and the parent can write an excuse or a note to the school to excuse that type of absence.
Also, a lot of questions that keep coming up about the mandatory distancing. So in the health order that is currently in place by LA County Department of Public Health, there is no 6-foot social distancing requirement. That is a pretty old health order. I do want to just let you know that they have learned a great deal about this virus since March of 2020, and they've learned how it's transmitted, and therefore they've made adjustments to the health orders. So there is no mandatory recommendation that we have a certain distance between students and staff. So I just want to make sure, as of today, there is nothing that states that. We will encourage students to remain as distant as feasible based on where they are. Mask, you're going to have to take your mask off to eat lunch. You can't eat lunch without taking your mask off. So yes, at lunchtime, students are going to have to take their mask off. And to the degree possible, we will distance kids as much as possible. So that question keeps coming up over and over again. So I want to make sure that we answer that as well.
Okay. And then as for, well, my child's video needs to be on, or can I just have child's name to view? I think it's always preferred, and it's always preferred for the video to be on. It's extraordinarily helpful for the teacher as well. It's very challenging teaching to a bunch of just names on a screen. And so it's very important to see engagement. Sometimes teachers will do a checking for understanding that might say, does everybody understand? Thumbs up, thumbs down, etc. So if the video's off, some of those strategies really go out the door. So On the preferences that it would be on, we understand that there are circumstances sometimes where it cannot be, but the preference would be for it to. And Dr. Palacios, is there anything else that needs to be added to that?
No, just I agree with you. We strongly recommend to have a camera on so that students are engaged with their peers and their teacher. But we also know that there's sometimes reasons for students to have their cameras off. And I think just open communication with the teacher.
Yeah. And as we continue to work through these, I see some hands raised in the participants, and we would ask that you put your questions into the Q&A, or if there are questions that perhaps are have many parts or many multifaceted, perhaps to give us a call. As a
Mr. Schofield, there's a question about when my child is vaccinated, how soon can they resume in-person learning? So I want to make it clear that you do not need to have a COVID vaccine to attend our school. That is not required. So you can attend without a vaccine. As you all know, there is no current vaccine for children that are younger than 12 years of age. So please know no vaccine is required to attend school.
Okay. And then Pat or Lindsay, what sort of contact tracing is going to take place if a child in a classroom tests positive and is present in school 48 hours prior to the onset of symptoms?
So I'm going to start and I'll let Lindsay chime in. But Lindsay, we're going to have our administrators consult with the district office, and the administrators will get guidance from Mr. Ma or another one of our associates in student support services. There's going to be lots of questions, and based on that, Mr. Ma, what would be the next steps?
So if a child is exhibiting symptoms, the child will be escorted to the health office to see the health office staff. The parents will be notified, and we will determine if that is be able to determine if that is COVID or not. Children are known to get sick during the school day, and so we cannot automatically assume that what they are experiencing is a symptom of COVID, because, as you know, some of our reactions to our allergy reactions, cold-like symptoms, flu-like symptoms are very similar to that of COVID. And so we need to make sure that happens as well. But parents will be notified. And if in the event that we do have confirmation of a positive case, we would enact our contact tracing protocols, and parents will be notified.
And Mr. Ma, we also have auxiliary health office, so that if a student is exhibiting symptoms that could be COVID-like symptoms, they will be escorted to a separate location that is not in the health office or part of the office, so that we can keep them isolated. And if they need to be picked up by a parent because their symptoms are confirmed to be COVID-like symptoms, we would ask that parent to come to school as soon as possible and pick that child up, and we would give them next steps before they return to school.
That being said, we also, really want to emphasize the self-survey questionnaire that we take daily. And, gone are the days where we are telling our kids just bunker down and you'll make it through the school day. If your children are indicating to you or messaging to you as parents, I'm not feeling well, ask some clarifying questions. And if they are ill or if they're not feeling well, we are asking, and in alignment with the rest of the state for that matter, that you not come to school.
And then we are no longer doing the temperature screening upon entry. We are asking, as Mr. Ma stated, for students and staff to do that every morning before you come to the school building to self screen. Parents need to be responsible for making sure their kids don't have a temperature and they don't have symptoms that might infect others. So we're not doing anything formal at the building entry any longer.
Okay, and Dr. Palacios,
Yes.
is there going to be a list of elective courses or other courses that are available for high school so people can make more informed decisions?
Yeah, I can definitely look at publishing that onto the website so that you can make a more informed decision. Please know especially at the high school level, I'm going to be reaching out this weekend to parents just to kind of check in. We want to make sure that you're making the right choice for your child, especially when it comes to dropping potential honors and AP classes. So be on the lookout for that phone call this weekend. But, just in some of the questions that I'm seeing, this is the link for the survey to sign up for 100% virtual learning. And then if you're wanting to withdraw your request for 100% virtual learning, you can go ahead and email me with the information listed below. And then again, I'm available if you want to email me. I can call you back and we can, exchange information so that if you have questions, I can answer them, especially if they're more delicate questions about your specific situation. And so just really quick, some of the questions I'm seeing on that are repeating. Go ahead.
There's something for Ed Services. It keeps coming up over and over again.
Go ahead.
If my child is quarantined, are they going to be moved over to the Virtual Learning Academy? So could Krista or Miss Lees answer, what is the plan if my child is quarantined so that the instruction can continue? I see that coming up over and over again.
So if your child is in-person learning and is asked to quarantine, we will have the classroom teacher be the one to provide additional, that instruction rather, while your child is in quarantine. So it will happen similar to it was last year, how we did distance learning. That is the plan right now.
Okay, and then are we going to be hosting volunteers on campus or welcoming volunteers to campus? And if so, do they need to be vaccinated?
Well, again, we are waiting for the health order. As the health order stands today, and Mr. Ma, correct me if I'm wrong, only essential adults that are on campus for essential business will be allowed on campus. Teaching, therapists, facilities. And so at this point, we're not seeing that the Department of Public Health is encouraging a lot of volunteers to come into a classroom, because remember, every time you bring a new person from the outside into a classroom, you are potentially bringing in the potential new viruses that could come in. So it's just to minimize the number of people that are coming and going into your school building on a daily basis. That's where it is today. So we will wait for that health order to confirm that they will continue that recommendation.
Okay. And currently, is there any requirement or plans for our district to keep track of the number of school staff who are vaccinated, district staff who are vaccinated, and would that number be shared publicly?
So I think as I stated earlier, at this time today, that information is considered private information. It is not something that we are comfortable sharing today at this time. That's all I can tell you. It's private, it's confidential information. And at this time, we're not going to share that data.
Okay. And then Krista, if a child falls outside of the September to December 2016 range for TK, is there another way in, such as testing in? Birthday is in September 2017.
No, we don't do that for students that young. We want our students to fall within those date that you gave, Jim.
All right, very good. And how many students are going to be assigned to online classes per grade level?
So they'll be comparable to class sizes as they currently are for in-person. So it's TK to 3, it'll be 24. Grades 4 through 8, it'll be 33. And then grades 9 through 12 is typically 36.
Okay. And then is there an option for hybrid, because this can avoid crowds? And at this time, we do not have a hybrid option. And so,
Mr. Schofield, I'm continuing to see a lot of very detailed questions about when and if would the school district decide to shut the school down and move into a full-time distance learning program. Those are Department of Public Health helps us make those decisions. Our Board of Education makes those decisions. So we do not have that information for you. There isn't necessarily a magical formula that we can share with you today. So please, I just want you all to go away with tonight before you leave. Please know that your child's safety and the safety of our staff are of the utmost concern to us. We are going to do our very, very best to make sure that everyone is safe when they come back to school and implement safe procedures. And again, as the slide said early in the presentation, we will be very transparent with our school community if there's a case at the school, and what our safety plan is, and we will keep you informed of everything that we're doing to keep your child safe. And I think you saw this year the ongoing communication from the superintendent's office to keep you posted on the current state and what we're doing to keep people safe and our students and staff safe. So please know that that is a top priority for the district.
Okay. And there's a question that it starts by saying it's probably too early to ask this question, which the answer is yes, it is, but it has to do with if vaccine's mandatory for children 2 years and over, will there be an option for exemption? For any mandatory vaccinations, the state gives very specific guidance, on a case-by-case basis. So we would be waiting for any guidance from the state should that time come, but it's good to be thinking ahead. And yes, high school students will be required to change for PE. Locker rooms will be available. We're returning to in-person and a full program. So with that, and let's see, and then skimming down for some more questions that we haven't answered already. Okay, let's see. Sorry for the silence. We should have some of that nifty pre-webinar music you had. So I'm going through these. So here's, it's an interesting one. If the teacher is not from the home school, so I'm assuming the students in virtual learning, what's the communication process? Where do the parents go to communicate if they have a school-based question? Do they go through the home school, or is there a point of contact within that VLA?
Oh, definitely. So for that virtual learning program, you will actually be connected to that teacher that's part of Alhambra Unified School District. And so you'll be connected either through Seesaw or Google Classroom or a combination of both. And so you'll have access to both the teacher, any co-teachers that are maybe there, the counselor, and whoever's there as administrator, and myself as director as well.
Okay.
Marissa, they're asking if their child is attending the virtual academy, can their child attend events at their previous home school, like open house, back to school night, fun run, and whatever events might take place?
So while you're enrolled at the 100% virtual program, you'll be invited to attend the events there. If you should return to your home school, that is when you'll be able to, for in-person learning, that's when you would be able to attend those events.
Okay.
So to clarify, if I'm in virtual academy, I only attend virtual academy events. I do not get invited to my former school's events, correct?
That is correct.
And when I return, if I choose to return back to my home school, then I would be part of that school community, and then I could attend those events.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay. And then, is there a deadline to apply for virtual learning?
So we put the deadline for this Friday by 4 p.m. However, the survey will still be open in case you change your mind. Parents will have the option to change their mind throughout the school year as well, both vice versa into in-person learning or virtual learning.
Okay. And then if a student gets vaccinated down the line, how soon can the return to in-person learning take place? I know we're recommending that if students are going to transition from program A to program B, that happen at the break in grading. So K through 8 at the trimester, or high school at the, is it the quarters or the semesters?
Semesters is what we recommend.
Yeah, I think that as a former high school principal as well, I think that's a solid recommendation.
Absolutely.
Can I just answer some themes I'm seeing in the questions? So there's questions about if my child has a 504 or needs an SST or needs an IEP, or those processes and procedures still take place. And the answer would be yes, because you will have people that are involved in the virtual academy that will make sure that those 504s, IEPs, and SSTs take place as needed, correct?
Still a lot of questions about what would happen if there was an outbreak with the Delta variant. Will schools shut down? Would we switch back over to distance learning like we did for the 2020-2021 school year? Those are complicated questions. There's a lot of variables to consider, and Department of Public Health gives those types of directives along with the Board of Education. So can't really say that one's going to lead to the other, because of the direction really lies outside of the school with the Department of Public Health.
Okay, thank you both. Just quite a few questions about dual immersion. So those have been really answered. And if a child is in 3rd grade and goes into virtual learning, if that seat's available when there's a decision to go back to in-person learning, they'd return to the dual immersion program. That's there's a lot to that decision, I understand, on a parent's part, because it's also, there's that gap in learning and that language acquisition. And so that can be particularly challenging. And then, so we've spoken to special ed and IEPs and the number of kids in classrooms. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Schofield, for scrolling through these questions for us.
You're welcome. Will teachers be teaching the same grade as previous years, or will they be teaching in a new grade? And just like with any school year, grade levels can change, subjects can change, and so that varies year to year based on, based on the size of a school, the number of students in a particular grade level, etc. So just mention that.
But Mr. Schofield, I'll answer some while you're scrolling through. So
okay.
I see some questions about materials, textbooks, technology, right? So if you have a student that's currently, in our district and already has a Chromebook, that student would continue to use that Chromebook. And the only exception would be is that we are doing some updates to some of our Chromebooks, or if your child is a primary student, we may be switching out some of the technology for a touchscreen Chromebook. And so that might differ, but as far as information about that will come closer to school in terms of when Chromebooks would be available for pickup, as well as any other materials.
All right.
While you're getting ready to answer the next question, I'm just going to respond to continued questions. So we are following the current health orders, and there's questions, why are masks mandated indoors but not outdoors? And again, the science has determined, and the Department of Public Health has determined as of today, that the virus spreads indoors, and it doesn't spread to the degree possible outdoors. So we're going to follow the health orders. But again, if a child or staff member wants to wear their mask outdoors, they are free to do so. So please know that that is available if somebody wants to wear a mask outside, but it is not currently part of the health order.
Yeah.
And then there's questions about the distancing and whether or not we have plexiglass. So the district bought many portable plexiglass dividers. I believe they're called what, study buddies? What are they called? Cube mates. And so those are available at our schools for teachers to use in their classrooms. So it's provides an additional barrier. But remember, masks are mandated indoors. So everybody will have a mask on, and so there's that barrier already exists, but those are available as well.
Okay, and Pat and Marissa, I believe you've answered this question, but it's popped up quite a few times. So I just want to make sure we're reinforcing that answer for the parents, and it has to do with students with IEPs who sign to the virtual, they sign up for the virtual program. Do they start school in the program, or do they have to wait for the IEP to verify that it is an appropriate placement?
They would have to wait for the IEP or the 504 meeting to determine the placement in the virtual program. That team has to meet to determine whether or not virtual learning is an appropriate placement for your student given their disability. And so after that is determined by the team and noted in the IEP, then the student would be able to begin the virtual learning right after an intake appointment.
Okay. And then a student, let's just say a student, general education student, parent fills out the survey for virtual learning. Is approval still needed for them to go into virtual learning? Yeah, I mean, that's basically the question.
So basically what will happen, yeah, so those next steps, right? We are going to be reaching out to our families that are signed up for the 100% virtual learning, and we will schedule appointments with you via Zoom, intake appointments, and it'll be by school, it'll be group appointments, so that we can provide you with more information and then speak with you individually if there's individual circumstances that we should be aware of. And then we will have those next steps in place for you to begin on the first day, which is August 11th.
All right, very good. And this might be what's Dr. Palacios or Director Van Orden question. In terms of pacing, you know, I've seen a couple of questions where parents are asking, you know, what's the pacing going to look like in person versus virtual learning? And so if a student moves from one program to the other, is that going to put them ahead or behind potentially?
So our goal is for the virtual learning teachers to follow the same, to utilize the same curriculum and follow the same pacing plans that we offer in the in-person classrooms.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Schofield, I'm still seeing questions come up asking about whether or not the DI program will be offered virtually. And I think I heard that it will not be offered virtually. Is that correct, Director Van Orden?
That is correct. Dual immersion is not an option within the virtual learning program. And
there's no hybrid or Zoom option for that either, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
There's also questions, Janet Lee's, about why can't we shorten the day? And I don't know if you want to give details about that, but I know that the state of California sets very strict limits on the amount of instructional minutes. Do you want to just give some details about why we can't just let everybody go before lunch?
Correct. So we are following, right, the requirements for the instructional minutes, and the requirements differ from what they were last school year. You know, last school year, there were, you know, exceptions made to our minimum instructional minutes. So that is why, you know, for the most part, we went from the morning through lunch, and then the afternoon became that opportunity, right, to come in and get support from the teacher, or, you know, there were additional pieces. So that we go back for the 21-22 school year, as we come back to the defaults being in person, then we go back to the same requirements, whether it's virtual or, you know, whether it's, you know, in-person learning, the requirements are the same. A little bit of the difference becomes that in that virtual learning environment, that some of the minutes are also associated with the appropriate amount of student work that is submitted and equitable to, a regular school day's minute requirement.
Thank you. Just a couple questions about students changing their mask. I would encourage students to come with several masks for the day. If you're talking on a mask for a length of time, it can get wet. So I would encourage that to be part of your daily backpack, that you provide several masks for your child in case they drop it on the ground or if they wish to change it during the course of the day. Another question about how do I request an IEP meeting? So if your child already qualifies for special ed and they have an IEP, that is something that if you're going to be in the virtual academy, Ms. Mako will work with special ed to make that happen. If your child doesn't have an existing IEP, there is a process in which a child must qualify for special ed.
Okay, Pat, if a child, if it's deemed through the IEP, excuse me, that virtual learning is appropriate, but they have some type of in-person therapy that they need, would they still be able to come to a campus to receive that in-person therapy?
Well, just a couple of thoughts on that. Last year we did teletherapy. We did therapy virtually. Our school psychologist provided that virtually. I don't think that we can give general answers here because I think we need to know a little bit more about the individual. We can't really give, I think there's a lot of questions to ask about that student and I think it requires a more intimate chat with us at the district office about your child's needs.
Okay.
Jim, I was wondering if I could chime in for just a minute.
Sure.
I'm feverishly trying to type answers in there. And so I wanted to say thank you to all of our parents who took the time to be with us this evening. We've been talking with one another, 16, 17 months now about all of these changes. And here we are once again. We are embarking on something that is completely new to us. Last year, we may have thought was challenging. But in a sense, having everyone on one platform, virtual, that was kind of straightforward compared to what we're embarking upon right now. So we have X number of teachers and we have X number of students, and we are trying to put together a program that meets the requests and needs of parents with the staff that we have. And so for some of those highly specialized programs like AP and Honors, like DI, we simply don't have the staff that is able to deliver it virtually. Our platform is teachers are either virtual or they are in person. So I know there's still questions and challenges regarding some of those specialized programs. And we do want to work through those to the degree we can. But right now, the place we are with that is our staffing challenge. We simply don't have the staff that can do both. So those specialized programs right now are the in-person. I saw a lot of questions on safety and DPH. We are educators. We are all, like you, becoming experts in safety, but we rely heavily on the Department of Public Health to help guide us on what they know to be safe for our students, and that's what we implement. And so we appreciate you working with us and you as thought partners in helping us navigate. I've told my staff, I feel this year, it's going to be like trying to touch your elbow to your ear. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be clunky, but we will pull it together. We did that last year, not perfect, but we did it. So we are going to ask for your grace and your support and your help we have taken all your questions. We've done our best to answer what we have here. Challenges that come up that we can solve, we are going to solve them. If we can't solve them, we'll tell you why we can't solve them, but we will do our best for you, and we will do our best to ensure that your kids get a quality instructional program. Most importantly, that we keep your kids safe. That's what we want. So I think this is our first conversation of many. I'm trusting you'll probably be talking to your principals and to classroom teachers and to some of our district office staff. And we will do our best to keep you informed. I'm going to stop talking. I see 2 questions in front of me. Will parents be informed if there's COVID in the class? Absolutely. We notify if doesn't even necessarily have to be in the class. It depends. It could be in your wing or it could be at your school. We notify. And of course, we don't give the name because, we're all individuals who have a right to privacy, but we do tell parents, and we do post the number of cases on our website by each school. So you'll know how many have happened at each building or in each school during a given week. A lot of questions on what is your plan to shut down? We will shut down if that's what we, along with professional guidance from Department of Public Health, believe is in the medical best interest of our students. We won't hesitate to do that. But right now, we are leaning heavily on what Department of Public Health is saying to us in terms of safety for kids returning. And they're telling us if we have kids masking, we have kids 12 and up, those that can get vaccinated, encourage that vaccine, get staff vaccinated. We've done huge clinics over the last several months to get our staff vaccinated. Department of Public Health says that, keep masks on kids, keep them washing their hands, get those that can get vaccinated, and we can open. So that's what we are doing. Once and if vaccines become eligible for children under 12, we will go ahead and set up local clinics to help facilitate that for families. I will stop talking. Again, just a thank you. Please keep in touch, and we will take the Q&A. We will attempt to publish answers and solve some of the one-off issues that present themselves. But in the end, it's probably not going to be feasible to deliver everything to everybody in the platform that they choose. There is a reality and a limit to the resources that we have in delivering that, but we'll work with you to the degree we can. So I appreciate you being here, and I'll turn back to staff. And to staff, thank you. You've pulled this together quickly and efficiently, so thank you very much.
So a quick question about lunch. How will students in the virtual academy have access to a free lunch? And do we know any details on that yet? Ms. Jaramillo? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
That elusive mute button gets me every time. Yes, we do know. So right now, again, this is another program that we are having to change instantly. So the state has now said we feed everyone free, right? Everybody gets a free lunch, a free breakfast. There are some nuances of it that don't seem real logical, but they're in the law. So if your child comes on campus, and if your child takes what is called a full lunch or a full breakfast, it is free. But they have to take every component that is offered. If they say, I don't want the milk, or I don't want the apple, I just want the pizza, it's not free. The state is only making it free if they take the entire meal. That's if you come on campus. For kids who are virtual learning, we want to feed you, but we have to know how much food to order, and we have to have an efficient way to distribute it. So instead of those big drive-through processes that we had at all of our schools last spring, if you are in the virtual program, we're going to ask that you contact your home school. You'll let them know that your child is going to be virtual, and you'll let them know what days you're going to pick up lunch. So you'll have to pick it up every day. But if you say, I'm going to come tomorrow, we'll have a meal ready for you tomorrow. However, the state is requiring that if an adult picks it up without the child there, we have to see a student ID. That is a state requirement. But we do have some guidance written regarding school meals that'll be going out. I think it's scheduled to go out tomorrow. If not tomorrow, certainly by the end of the week. But your schools will be a good resource, you know, next week as we're getting this guidance out to them as well.
Ms. Maker, could you clarify one more time? There's questions about if I start in one program and if I want to switch to the other program, and if I start in the other program and I want to, can you just clarify that it's both ways in both directions? And
absolutely. And so students have the option to return to in-person learning and vice versa to 100% virtual learning. The law requires us to do within 5 instructional days. However, best practices, we're going to strongly recommend that you transfer at the trimester or at the semester. And that is the best way to make sure that there's no learning loss between quarter or warning notice time. It'll be the cleanest way for your student to adjust back into the classroom. And so again, I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you, families. I hope that we were able to answer many of your questions. We will be posting this PowerPoint online on our website, as well as the video recording of this informational meeting. And then we'll try to post a FAQ sheet on any questions that we may have missed. I know that many parents have emailed me questions already. I've been checking my email. And so I think I have 10 questions already slated. So feel free to email me if you have any specific questions about your given situation. Be sure to sign up. Here is a link or a tiny URL link that's also been provided, as well as if you change your mind and you want to withdraw from the 100% virtual learning program, please send me an email with this information so that I can remove your name from the list. Again, thank you very much for being here and have a good evening.